Now, certain people have asked me to talk about Jack the Ripper for a long time. It's been a long time. I've been putting Jack the Ripper up on our polls for a vote for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And certain people ask me every single time, please do Jack the Ripper. Well, I kept putting it up, guys. I did my best. And finally, today I'm going to answer your questions. And I'm going to tell you something. I 100% know exactly what happened with Jack the Ripper. I have no doubts in my mind after this reading. And of course, you know, some people will believe me and some people will think something different. But I was shocked. I'm going to tell you I was really shocked because the person that did it was the person I did not suspect. As a matter of fact, it was the person I least suspected because this person had a very strong alibi. So I'm really shook. So let's get into it. I'm QueenAusetHeru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to anyone and everybody who would like to see this too. If you would like, please drop us some comments in the comment section too. And if you want to get a reading done, please hit me up on my email or on my social media. I'd be glad to give you a personal and private reading. Let's see. Also, if you would like to give a donation to the channel, my PayPal and my Cashapp are underneath this video. If you would like to check out my Patreon, everybody who's on my Patreon gets my mystery reading first. They get it a week before I drop it on Facebook. So if you want to become a patron, please do. You can also become a subscriber to the channel that is directly on the channel. That would be awesome. So let's see. And of course, you can get some Ask an Aquarius merchandise underneath this video. I will also put the links to all the decks I'm getting ready to use. Whenever possible, if it's still in print, I will give you guys a link. Okay? Let's get started. I know you guys are excited as I am. I hope you are. Now, let's get into it. First and foremost, I asked about who this person was. And these cards really puzzled me at first. Let me show them to you. Because I was like, wait, what? This is a person who lived a very charmed life. In this card right here, we see some type of this is a card about spirituality and divination. So spirituality is going to be very important in this person's nucleus. Okay, that's the first card that came up. So we know that, and that means like this person either was in a very religious family, or religion might have been the foundation. They might not even believed it, but religion could have been the foundation, because this is a very spiritual card. As you can see from the images that are here, oftentimes this is a Catholic person. It doesn't have to be though. It could be anybody of any faith. But based on the other cards, I think this is a person who might have been of at least the Christian faith. And I don't usually get a lot of that. So I thought that was a very interesting detail for them to tell us what type of energy comes around this. And it's a higher class energy too. This is a person, this isn't like a commoner. Like, remember we talked about, I don't know if you guys know much about Jack the Ripper, because I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't do any research before I do a reading, because I just want to see what the cards say. So we've all heard about it in history's mysteries and things like that. So the only thing I know is that this happened in the 1800s in London. And basically a bunch of women of the night were murdered. But they weren't just like shot or like normally murdered. They were like mutilated. Like one woman, her uterus was removed. Another one, other parts of her were removed. It was just horrific and gross. And you can imagine finding a dead body and it's mutilated. So a lot of people thought because of that maybe it was a surgeon or a butcher who had did it, because they said that the cuts were not sloppy or choppy like an amateur would do, you know. But also, if this person had been killing beforehand, they might have just perfected their technique over time. Who knows, you know. But the bottom line is that they never caught Jack the Ripper. And it also, there were a lot of suspects, a lot. There was like 10, 15, and over the years, people keep adding on more possible suspects because the person was never found. So we know now this person has some type of a strong spiritual upbringing, strong spiritual foundation in one of the upper classes. Definitely not somebody who's like a commoner, because this person has like a gold chalice. Commoners couldn't afford a gold chalice. I can't afford a gold chalice now. So this had to have been somebody that has money, okay? And they lived a predominantly happy and charmed life. They got the Sun card. And I was very surprised to see these cards. I thought I was just going to see a person who was just mentally ill or something like that. But this person, although they may have been mentally ill, they, for the most part, lived a happy life, a charmed life. The Sun card is like you have it all. You know, you have it all. You have clothes, you have money, you have drinks, you have fun, you have it all. So this person also fell in love. That's the other part I was going to say to you. They fell in love at some point, and this is where things went south. This card here is the Three of Swords. Check it out. So as you can see, this is a very disturbing card, and it came up reversed. So when the Three of Swords is reversed, it basically is telling us that this happy person, something happened with the person they were in love with. And it was heartbreaking, heart shattering, heart destroying. And you know, some of us, when we get our heart broken, you know, we go through our changes and we come out on the other side. And some of us snap. And they're telling me that this right here, this, whatever this incident was, if the person cheated on them, because it could indicate cheating, or it could indicate that the person just stopped seeing them, or they had to stop, or they were forced to stop seeing them. Because remember, I said this person was in the upper classes, and during that time period, you couldn't just pick your boo. You had to go with who was best for the family, the dowry, you know, all that kind of formal stuff back then. You couldn't just pick somebody that you were in love with. And in some ways, I think it was kind of better, but in some ways, it was kind of worse. So I feel like something happened with this love that this person had, and it made this person basically snap, and that's how we get these murders. Now, we have right here the High Priestess. This is how I know it was something that happened with this woman, because this woman was shrouded in secrecy, according to the High Priestess. So something went on with this secret. You know, this person, what I'm getting from that vibration is they were with somebody in secret, and maybe they're like, they were, let's say for instance, I watch Bridgerton all the time. And the queen was saying that her sons had children and were in love with actresses. And she said it with like such a actresses, you know. So I'm getting like maybe the woman was not of the higher class of this person. So there was some mystery around it. And I'm taking that somebody found out and then something went wrong. So I am of the mind that it was someone from the monarchy. I think Jack the Ripper, I was looking at the list of suspects before I started this video. There's a prince. I don't remember his name. It's Prince something. I don't know if it was Albert or Arthur or something like that. I think it was Albert. But whatever the case is, I think the monarchy was involved. And the crazy part about it is that I did not think that going into this reading. Going into this reading, I thought it was H.H. Holmes. Because if you look up H.H. Holmes, he was a serial killer who was caught, but he was caught in Chicago after he did some gruesome stuff there. He had actually I ain't even gonna tell you the whole story, but because we're going to do a reading on him too. But he was gruesome. He was a serial killer. He killed a lot of people, and it was some rumor that he was in London during the time of the Jack the Ripper murders. So I assumed it was H.H. Holmes. Then somebody else showed me evidence that it was possibly a woman. Like a woman actually committed the crime. And I do see a woman's involvement in the crime, but I don't see it as being the woman that committed the crime. I see it as being the monarchy. So I think that prince had something to do with it. And I don't think the prince acted alone, because it was a lot of secrecy going on here. Now, the reason why I initially did not suspect this prince is because he has a very solid alibi. But then I looked at his alibi, and his alibi is from the palace. It's stated that they kept very strict records of the comings and goings of the royalty. and they had in the records that he was not in London during the time of the murders. Now, because of the fact that the account is coming from the very people who would hide and lie for him, I'm not really so keen on that. That's like if I do something and you ask my best friend did I do it. She ain't gonna tell you. So I'm thinking to myself, they hid it. That's what I'm thinking. So I believe it was the monarchy, and I also believe that people knew in the monarchy. For instance, the prince's mother, some of the family members, people in that monarchy knew, and I do believe it was the prince. And I'm telling you guys, that was a shock to me because that was the last person I expected. And I believe that based on these cards, he might not have acted alone. Because remember, they said that the person that did it had some kind of surgical knowledge. Well, the prince was known to run with this physician, a surgeon. So I don't know if this was something that they sickly did together. I don't know. I don't know that part because that part's not coming up in here. But it is definitely telling me that this prince was involved. So that's mine. You know, my money is on that prince. And the more I pull cards on it, you'll see the more it supported what I thought. Sovereign, that's somebody in the royal family. I asked about the identity of Jack the Ripper, and these were the cards I get. They told me it was somebody in the royal family, somebody in the monarchy, and possibly, you know, the one that was responsible, masculine energy. So we got a guy here, and this person had been through something. Remember that heartbreak card? Tests and trials. This is when you had some heartbreak, something went wrong. So I'm assuming that maybe, like, for example, he was trying to cover up, you know, a relationship with a commoner, or maybe the commoner got pregnant, you know, something like that. Maybe one of those people that got murdered was the commoner, and the others were, you know, just an attempt to be able to cover it up. Because some people question the methodology of the I'm trying to think of how it was put. Some people question, oh, the way that the people are the way that the way that the women were killed. In some cases, it was a little bit, you know, more than others. Like the one woman, he had her in a room, and he had plenty of time to mutilate her. One of the other women, it was in the street, you know, and it was a lot of these murders, and certain murders they're not even sure if he did it or not. It was a lot of speculation around it. So if the murders were not exactly the same, that indicates a possible second murderer. So that's why I told you earlier, I think it was the prince and that physician. So this is what I got from this card right here. And after I got the Emperor and the Sovereign card, that let me know this was something that was probably a royal cover-up. Call to change. Apparently, remember I said I think that somebody else knew? It says here that somebody was calling him to change. It was in the reverse. This is the upright of it. So when it's in the reverse, that means somebody is telling you need to change. So somebody was saying to him, like, this is not cool. Somebody knew. Maybe it was that doctor. Maybe it was another person. Because somebody was saying to him, you need to change. This is not cool. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So somebody was saying to him, like, look, this is crazy. This plan is awful. You need to stop this. And he continued on despite. That's why it's reversed. They're saying he continued on despite this other person. So somebody knew what he was doing. Now, we all know that the prince eventually stopped. You know, the murderers, I should say, eventually stopped. So that means that either he listened to, you know, this other person, or something else happened, which we're getting ready to see some more cards, so something else could have possibly happened. But the bottom line is that there was someone telling him to stop, and he was refusing. So that means that it was more than one person that knew the real identity of this killer. At least two. All right. Let's look at his archetype. This is the archetype of the killer. So the person was a gambler. Whoever this was, they liked to gamble. They probably liked to do things in houses of ill repute. Because back then, if you were a gambler, especially if you were like in a monarchy, you probably went to like gentlemen's clubs or something like that. I don't even know what they had back then. But this person was a gambler, and they probably were good at it because it came up in the upright. So they probably were good at following their intuition and winning. It could have been houses of ill repute. It could have been race horses. It could have been something else like that. But they also had to have a lot of money. Remember I said a person of means? That's why I think another nod towards the monarchy. But all of the suspects had, not all of them, but a great deal of them had money. It was like more than one doctor on the list. So they had money. But whoever this person was, I'm thinking it's that prince. He had money to gamble and play with during the time period when, especially in London, it was a very difficult time period economically. So this person had money to waste. And it said that whoever was doing this was going up to these women and basically soliciting their services. And unfortunately, women of the night are really vulnerable. Even to this day, if that's your profession, you're vulnerable. That's why so many of them get into these situations, these vampiric situations with somebody protecting them, quote unquote, because you're very vulnerable to these, people, your clients. You never know what your client has on their mind. It could just be, a night of fun, or it could be something more sinister. So this person, this prince, I'm gonna just say the prince, the prince would go or his accomplice would go and pick up one of these ladies for the night, coming off as if, they just wanted a companion, a little bit of good time, that kind of thing. And then they would take them somewhere and harm them. That's how they got them to walk off with them, or whatever the case is. And in that part of London, there was a lot of women of the night. There was a lot of alcohol, ism. There was a lot of that going on, unfortunately. So it wouldn't have been hard at all to do that. So that's how they were doing it. They were luring them, like, hey, offering them money or whatever the case was, and then luring them somewhere and harming them. This person was also a rebel. And that's another nod towards the prince, because this person was a rebel. This person did not believe that authority really was something that I'm going to read the top of it. Challenges authority to affect social change, rejects their spiritual system that do not serve inner needs. Now remember, I told you that person was raised in a monarchy. You're raised either Catholic or Protestant or whatever, your particular kingdom has taken on. They all took on a spiritual system. And so this person was rejecting that spiritual system. I don't know much about that prince, but if you take a look, you might even see evidence of that. Also, you will see evidence of him challenging authority and being rebellious, which makes sense because if you're in the monarchy, you think that the rules don't apply to you. To this day, people who are rich and famous or in monarchies will, not all of them, but some of them will think that they are above the law. And some of them have gotten away with things over the years too. People have swept lots of things under the rug because somebody was famous or somebody was rich. So this rebel was challenging authority as well. Right. Let's see what we get here. Two, three. So we got a little bit more information, and they all came up reversed, as you can see. I just wanted you to see they all came up reversed. So I'm going to show them to you in the upright so you can actually see the pictures and read them. So they're telling me that this person, let's look at this one first. This card right here says that they were dealing with a lot of tension. There's a lot of sexual tension going on with that first card. And you can see that present in these murders. So one of these men had a lot of sexual tension for some reason that was not being expressed. Maybe they were impotent or had some problems down there. During that time period, if you got an STD or something like that, you would be messed up because it really wasn't any medicine and things like that. So that was a real problem. That full moon in Scorpio was giving us that issue. Also, when I asked about the letters, there were letters that were written and they were signed Jack the Ripper, and I think they were addressed Dear Boss. And these letters were attributed to these murders too. And this card also tells us that those letters were not written by the killer. So those letters were definitely a hoax. Dark side of the moon. They were a hoax. So they were not real. This card right here tells us that this person was stuck in the past. Remember that hurt I told you about that they had? They just couldn't let it go. And I understand it too, because for that time period, mental health probably was not a priority. It wasn't a priority, not even probably. So this person probably just needed to go see a grief counselor. Seriously. They probably just needed a therapist, you know, something like that. Nowadays, if this had happened to me or you and we were in our right mind, we would go see a therapist and we would keep it moving. So this card is telling us that a lot of that grief that was keeping them stuck in the past is a large reason why this went on. So remember I said they snapped, you know, and they just had a hard time leaving the past behind. And the last one is that this person was mentally unbalanced. We have the Find a Balance card. This card says that mentally, the Libra is an air sign, so that's your mental. So mentally, they were terribly unbalanced. They were okay up front until that situation happened. And that pain and that upsetment and whatever they were holding in from that situation, they basically just, you know, went off the deep end. And the last one, it said that there was no chance that this prince was going to get caught. The monarchy, I told you guys, the monarchy, and they had spies. Look at this card right here, eyes wide open. They had spies out there on the street. The monarchy, even to this day, I don't know anything about the monarchies, but I do know that monarchies and governmental structures of all kinds are often said to have eyes and ears everywhere. So I don't doubt this at all. I know if I was a monarchy, I would have eyes and ears everywhere. So they were never going to catch this man. Think about if you think about like some of the crimes that were committed, this man or these men were committing these crimes late at night, but in very busy areas where prostitutes were walking around, other people were coming in and out of bars. Cops were constantly patrolling, especially after the first murder. You know, this person took great glee in being able to rebel and being able to get away from the cops. They thought that was great. And like I said, they had eyes and ears everywhere. So it was never even a chance they would be able to get caught, because if somebody, you know, even got close to the truth, or they heard it through the grapevine, you know, they was going to be able to get away. They were very afraid of being exposed and revealed. But this card came up reversed, so they never were. They were never exposed, they were never revealed, and they got away with it. Now, from what I understand, that prince that I'm talking about died from some type of illness a few years after. I don't know how many years after, but years after this occurred. So this person that I think it is was never exposed and never revealed, and that's why to this day this is still a mystery. So they were afraid they were going to be exposed or revealed though, and it says here, remember I said somebody was asking them to stop and asking them to, you know, calling them like, come on, like get it together. That's what finally made them stop. So that's why the spree stopped. Whatever they were trying to cover up was over, and that was it. It was done. And then a few years later, this person was gone. And this one right here tells us their heart never really truly healed. So whatever it was that went on, they moved on, you know. I just can't say they really got over it. You know, there's a difference between moving on and getting over it. Because I was getting ready to say they got over it, but not really. They just moved on. It's like when somebody passes away that you love, you might not get over it, and some of us do. But most of the time what happens is we just move on because we have no other choice. It's like they're gone. It's nothing we can do about it. So I feel like it was more in that direction, because it says here the healing heart. It says the person still needed to heal their heart. So their heart never really healed. They just kept moving. And I don't know what happened with this prince. I don't know what the prince did. I don't know anything else about this prince. I just know that this is the one that's coming up as the one who did these murders. So this is the reading on Jack the Ripper. I'm also going to do one more reading I'm looking forward to, which is, could you have survived being attacked by Jack the Ripper? I think that was going to be a fun topic. But let me know what you think in the comment section, because this was not what I expected. This was not what I expected at all. I did not expect it to be the prince. I told you guys I thought it was H.H. Holmes all these years. And I never had any real, like, you know, because there's evidence to the contrary of all these theories. There's evidence against it being H.H. Holmes and for, you know, all of the people who have been accused of this murder have great evidence for them and great evidence against them. Some of them have great alibis, some of them have no alibis. So it was so many different people that could have committed this crime. So I'm sure many of you probably have your own idea, but that was mine, and I was very surprised that it went back to the monarchy, because when I first heard that theory, I thought it was absurd. I really did. I thought it was ridiculous. I was like, the monarchy? What the monarchy doing in London, killing women in the night? Like, for what? But clearly there was some kind of a cover up here. Something went on with this prince, and him and at least one other person took out these people. And one other person, I think the queen personally, because the queen always knows what's going on. So I think the queen is the one that knew and was telling him, look, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need to stop. And I think that's why it finally did stop. I think that he was rebellious, against, authority, like they said in the cards. And I think that he probably didn't even care at first, but that threat of being exposed and revealed, I think, is what finally got him to be like, you know what, I've done what I've done, and I think it was all out of like I said, frustration, anger, hurt, that kind of stuff. And many of you are probably thinking, like, I've been frustrated, I've been angry, I didn't go kill a bunch of women tonight in downtown London. But everybody's different, and the way that the mind of a person works, especially a person, think about a spoiled, entitled person who's had everything handed to them, and the first tragedy they have, somebody dying, or somebody saying, no, you can't be with this person, or whatever the case is, or if she became pregnant and he wanted to dispose of the child, because one of them, their uterus was taken. Was the uterus taken because a royal baby was inside? You see? So what I'm getting from this is that this was a serious royal cover-up for a specific reason, and I feel like it was something that was devastating to this prince, even though he was in it, and I guess that's what made him snap. Maybe it was something he didn't want to happen, because the crime that I talked about where the uterus is taken is very suspicious, and it makes me think, based on the cards, that the other crimes were committed to cover up whatever that was going on with this prince. So let me know what you think. I was very surprised at this, and you come back soon, because I got a lot more to say. See you later.